Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is OSU Football Update, brought to you by Bronze.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into another OSU Football podcast as we take a look at the Cowboys with their 11 a.m. game on Saturday against Kansas State. Kansas State, a team that has not lived up to expectations, and you can probably point back to starting the season in Ireland when they played a conference game against Iowa State in late August and losing that game, tough, close game, and then some of the things that happened afterwards seemed like it hung over them for a while, and they have not been as good as a lot of people thought they would be in terms of challenging for a Big 12 Conference championship. They are dangerous, as in Avery Johnson, the quarterback. He is still very capable of beating anyone, not just with his arm, but with his feet, of course. And so one of the topics for the defense for OSU, especially, we asked Wendell Gregory about this on Monday after Doug Meacham's weekly news conference. We talked with Wendell, who's getting a lot of attention for the Sean Alexander Award, which goes to the top freshman in college football. He's the only Big 12 defender on that list, and very excited about opportunities. But we brought up the phrase rush integrity with him. In other words, you want to pin your ears back and go get the quarterback, but Avery Johnson's good enough that if you leave a lane open, he's going to hurt you in a big way and pick up a lot of yards, if not score. So figuring out just how you have to attack him and yet keep him in the pocket is going to be a big deal for this Cowboy defense. Another thing for Kansas State offensively, the running back, they thought that Dylan Edwards would be the guy, but he has not panned out this year. But they've got a guy named Joe Johnson who looks sharp in the backfield. And if you're a fan of 80s music, then you probably get the reference. But he's been good lately, and they do have that ability to run it. They have not been the most explosive team, though. In fact, some coaches will tell you that they don't blow you away with athleticism across the board. They just do what they do, and they do it really, really well. So about the time that you sell out stop the run, that's when you're going to end up in some one-on-one matchups with receivers on the outside. And Jerron Tibbs is one guy, and Jace Brown is another that you have to keep an eye out for when you talk about the Wildcats. They've both been productive, 6 feet and 6'2", respectively there. And then tight ends have always been a big deal with the Wildcat offense. They kind of lull you to sleep with it and all of a sudden hit the tight end going down the seam. And Garrett Oakley, big guy, 6'5", 250, he can hurt you. So the Cowboys have their hands full defensively. We'll see if Clint Bowen, the interim defensive coordinator for OSU, has come up with some special alignments and things to try and maybe confuse Avery Johnson a little bit. And you'll know who Avery Johnson is because he's got this long, flowing blonde hair coming out of his helmet, curly and everything else. It's the envy of, well, some people. But he's a very, very good player. Make no mistake about it. We'll talk about the other side of the ball after this timeout from our sponsor. We'd like to thank Brahms for sponsoring this podcast, and we'll be back in a moment.
It's time to enjoy the sweet taste of Brahms Strawberry Shortcake Sundae. Our creamy vanilla ice cream is nestled on top of Brahms fresh-baked golden bundt cakes with spoonfuls of delicious strawberry topping all around, complete with fluffy whipped cream and a cherry to create the perfect flavor combination. Strawberry goodness is waiting for you at Brahms.
OSU and Kansas State, 11 a.m. at Boone Pickens Stadium on Saturday. Let's talk a little bit about the matchup between the OSU offense and Kansas State's defense. There were some encouraging signs the last time OSU played. At Kansas, it was a loss. Probably should have been in the lead at halftime, if not for a couple of missed field goals. One of them missed, one of them blocked. And so that kind of took the wind out of OSU's sails. But one thing you saw that you hadn't seen for much of the season, you saw some production in the passing game. A healthier Zane Flores back at it after missing a couple of games since being injured in the loss at Arizona. And they took some shots. They took some deep shots. Not every time, but able to find Shamar Rigby for a touchdown. Terrell Davis, the UCO transfer, made a couple of tremendous grabs. In fact, the last pass that Flores threw, Davis comes down with it, and while he was being interfered with, it was flagged, and he still made the catch. And that's kind of given the receiver room a little bit of juice going into the final 3 games of the season that they know now, because Sam Jackson, the fifth, the receiver, turned back to quarterback, They were kind of hamstrung, and it's really not Jackson's fault. It was just kind of an emergency situation. But now with Flores back there, with a bigger arm and a little more experience now, the receivers are like, hey, get the ball in our hands. We think we can do something. So what does Kansas State do to stop that? Well, the secondary for Kansas State probably hasn't been as good as previous K-State secondaries. And at times they have been very, very good. But they're giving up about 220, 225 yards a game through the air. And if the Cowboys can get that and a healthier Rodney Fields back at running back, giving you the ability to maybe be a little balanced offensively. We'll see, because you still have some injuries up front. And but you know that they're going to have Flores' ability to throw the ball a little bit. Now, as to whether they can be balanced, a little bit of a blow this week because starting offensive lineman Noah McKinney, who'd been a vocal leader coming immediately out of the Mike Gundy firing. Noah McKinney's no longer with the team. During the off week, he had said he was going into the portal but was going to finish the season with OSU, but he has now received an offer from TCU, and he is going to go to TCU, and he's no longer with the team. So it's another one of those things in modern-day college football that unfortunately you have to deal with at times. It's more transactional for players on an individual level. So we'll see all about that. Now, back to the receivers for a moment. You know they'd like to play well, because one of the special things involved on Saturday is Justin Blackmon, the two-time Biletnikoff Award winner for the Cowboys in 2010 and 2011, nation's top receiver those years, is going into the Cowboys Ring of Honor at halftime during the game on Saturday. So it'll be good to see him back, and maybe he can be an inspiration to those receivers, and who knows. Cowboys feel like they have a chance, and the ones who are still playing are playing because they really want to, and they really want to impress whoever moving forward, whether it's the new OSU head coach or another team and another staff. Again, we thank our sponsor, Brahms, OSU and Kansas State, 11 a.m. Saturday at Boone Pickens Stadium.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma Zone digital studio stream. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.